Lauren Chen joins us now as well. Lauren, do you buy that argument that we should be more accepting of this type of work in society? Otherwise, if we clamp down on it, then it will be worse for a lot of women.
Well, I think we are plenty accepting already as a society. People are perfectly able to start OnlyFans accounts, and not only that, but become very financially successful for a slim minority. I think that includes Eliza. The question we are talking about here is it appropriate? Is it okay to advertise pornography in places where children can see it? You mentioned that some of these billboards are right next to a school. And in my opinion, the answer is clearly no. And I have to say, Eliza, regardless of what the overall watchdog ruling is, that doesn't mean that you as a business owner, as the person who is sponsoring these billboards, needs to keep them up, especially the ones that I think are under the most controversy, which are the ones near the school. You are able to take them down. There are other ways you can advertise for your OnlyFans account, including, I would say, appearing on this show, that don't expose children to this, to the concept of pornography, young girls, the idea of selling their bodies, young boys, the idea that women are commodities. There are other ways to go about this, even if you insist on having an OnlyFans account. That would draw a lot less fire from parents, especially.
Let's give Eliza a chance to respond to that. But also, according to the information I've got, the billboards, one of which is located around 450 metres from a school, which is a fair distance. And the Advertising Standards Agency did come back and said, look, these billboards are all around New York and London. Children walk around those cities all the time. They're going to see them anyway. Whether or not the ruling is correct or not, I mean, people have different opinions on that. But Eliza, I mean, your chance to respond there. Are you advertising pornography widely? Is it necessary to do that? That's what Lauren's saying.
I think my intention behind the ads was to do exactly this, to start a discussion. That's what my intention was, and I think that's been achieved. I will point out I'm not the first person to put an OnlyFans logo on an advert. There are boxers and Formula One drivers that have the OnlyFans logo in exactly the same way on their helmets, on their shorts, on their clothing. I think the issue here is people are putting two and two together with a woman in the logo. I will also say the only overt reference to pornography on my ad was the graffiti on it. And this is what sparked the press I got and ultimately all the attention this has received. The ad was very clearly designed for adults. I'm a 34-year-old woman. All my social media audience is between the ages of 25 and 35 and 98.8% male. I will also point out that in the same vicinity, there were alcohol ads on bus stops, presumably where these children would sit and wait for a bus home from school. The only difference is that conversations have been had around alcohol. That's the difference. And this is what I'm starting to do here. The other thing is, just because there's an ad with a bottle of beer on it, it doesn't mean a child or a minor could walk straight into an off license and buy a beer. They'd have to provide ID. And what people don't understand about OnlyFans is the same applies there. It's actually even harder. Even as a creator, when I buy a new mobile phone, I have to physically call up my network provider, provide ID and a credit card in order to even access the platform. And that's even without subscribing.
I just want to ask, I think those are all really good points to raise, the alcohol one as well. That Lauren's point about the money aspect of this and the attention you've received, you said your intention behind it was to raise this debate. Of course, that has created more marketing for you and you're going to receive likely more customers and more money from this. Was that part of it as well?
Not really. I didn't expect any real increase in revenue from the billboards. As you might know, we already advertise, we advertise online. I think as well, like the point around it was, again, to just raise a discussion. And I'd also like to add at this point, the ads do not glorify or glamorize the use of OnlyFans in any way. And I will make this point about the money. The money can be really good for a small minority, as was mentioned. However, there are great sacrifices to be made for people who do OnlyFans. You post a sexy picture on even Instagram, it's there for your whole life. And it's a very short-lived career. So these are the kind of things that I think we need to be talking about.
Lauren, sorry, Eliza, we're just running short of time. I just want to ask Lauren, final words, whether you're convinced by any of this.
Well, I think it's somewhat silly to say that the billboards weren't done, at least in part, for increased revenue. That's the point of billboards and advertising. And I appreciate that Eliza does bring out the fact that there are downsides to OnlyFans. But the thing is, that's not what's mentioned on this billboard. On this billboard, there's simply her provocative pose, a link to her social media and OnlyFans accounts. And obviously, children should have their social media usage monitored by parents. But at the same time, I don't think it's too much to ask for people who make pornography like Eliza to not directly market to children, which is in part what she is doing. There are other ways she could advertise where you wouldn't have this fur, where they wouldn't be exposed to children, but she is, I think, specifically trying to normalize and mainstream. She even said OnlyFans, which is not a good thing. This is not a positive for society, for men or for women.
It's interesting.
Oh, go on quickly, Eliza.
Because statistically, teenagers are way more likely to be exposed to sexual imagery on places like Facebook than they are OnlyFans. I obviously would never purposely have put this ad next to a school. However, I think it's actually quite nice.
You can take it down. You can take it down at any point. You're the one paying for it. It doesn't need to be there, regardless of what the agency says. You have the ability to take it down.
I did 6 days after the complaints. It came down. So
you agree with I guess the complaints in that case?
Not particularly, no. I agree with the fact I would not like to be directly marketing at children. However, it's naive. What I was going to say is it's naive to assume that a teenager with a mobile phone would not have seen imagery like this before. And this I find concerning, the fact that people don't know that or just don't want to accept it. The point of the ads, and I think they've achieved the point, is to start this discussion and maybe raise awareness amongst adults.
We are fresh out of time. We have had that discussion. We appreciate both your points of view.